position has been filed. So that's great. I have a copy of that, so thanks for that. We've gotten everything across for our ESPs, and I know we've got a date on Friday, the 2nd, which we'll get some good work done there. We've done our initial language proposals to Article 23. You guys have gotten everything across, which we'll see where if we get to any of that today. And the main points of our meeting today is to look at economic proposals, and we've got some things on the table, and we're excited to be here.
We do. And I also wanted to introduce our new Chief Human Resource Officer, Dr. Charmian Patton. So she's joining us today, and hopefully it will be a great day to join us. So,
Absolutely.
All right. So I know I feel like we've made a lot of progress, which is a positive thing. I think, we've talked about the proposals that have been on the table. You've shared that this is the, for lack of a better word, the most that the district has brought as an initial proposal in a long time. And it's been challenging for us to get to this point where we're in a better financial situation, right? We know that we've gone through some hard times over the last few years, and we've had to really work hard in order to get here. We also all acknowledge that we do not receive the funding that we need from the state in order to be competitive the way that we need to be able to really recruit and retain high quality employees, which we all know our staff is the heart and soul of our organization, and that without qualified staff, then obviously we're not going to be making the impact that we need to with students. So we've made initial proposals. You've made an initial proposal. We've made a proposal. You came back. So we are here today to bring a proposal that we think can hopefully address a lot of the priorities that we've had this year. And we know that those priorities were to decompress the salary schedule. We've already settled with our economic proposal for ESP, which was we brought forth something that we thought we could sustain and something that we thought was going to help our employees both financially, but also to be competitive with outside organizations that are trying to recruit employees. Also, we wanted to decompress the instructional salary schedule. And then we also wanted to address the health pro salary schedule, which had not been addressed in many years. So I think that this proposal addresses those things and hopefully is something that we can work towards. We know that there's never an end, right? It's never perfect. Like we end up in a spot, and then hopefully we continue to move forward. We work together and we partner together to hopefully lobby to have more funding, and then we can even be more aggressive in the future. So that's the hope. So Mr. Gibson is going to be the materials manager today.
You got a promotion.
And as we know with instructional, we have a lot of salary schedules. So I'd like to read over just a proposed economic agreement, and then we can dig into each salary schedule and look at it that way. Okay. So I'll wait till have what we need. Yes. All right. So if you look at the, Britt, I took yours and I edited it.
Fine. Good.
It looks really good. So I'm like, let me just adjust, right?
From what you guys did in the past.
Exactly,
anyway, so.
exactly. So if we look at it, just looking at number one, we've already talked about, I think both sides have proposed that effective July 1, all instructional salary schedules would be updated and included in Appendix A of the collective bargaining agreement. Number two, effective July 1, so everything would be retroactive. Employees in the instructional bargaining unit would be credited with 1 year of experience and advance on their respective salary schedules accordingly. Number three, this has a lot of different little pieces to it, which then when we go over the salary schedules will make a lot more sense. But speech language pathologists, school counselors, and school social workers who are currently on the instructional salary schedules A, B, E, G, P, Q will be placed on the student services schedule, formerly known as Health Pro, at the appropriate level of experience and advanced degree, not to exceed any other employee with the same years of experience on that scale. Number 3. 3 and 4 really go with what we both have proposed, where we know that currently the top of our instructional schedules is at E23. This would be adding an E24 and adding an E25, and employees would move accordingly. The next bullet there, employees who are at the top level of the current Health Pro salary schedule. Remember, the current Health Pro salary schedule is level 21. Since we'd be moving so many people from instructional to Health Pro, we wanted those to align. So we added 22, 3, 4, and 5 on the Health Pro. A longevity stipend of $2,500 to be paid to all instructional employees who are on the top level of Schedule A and B respectively. We had originally proposed 2,000. You had countered with 3,000 or vice versa. And this would be 2,500 for those at the top. Remember, there's not that many at the top because it's only schedules A and B. Since we're adding levels to all the other salary schedules, most people will not have been to the top yet until next year. Number 4, and this is something that you have shared as a priority. Right now, and we'll get into the numbers in a bit, but right now there are some of the student services supplements are in the salary schedule. Some of them we've been negotiating annually. They're not in the salary schedule. So with us moving this larger group of people, over 800 people, to the Health Pro / student services salary schedule, we would want to keep all those supplements together, meaning that they would no longer be in the salary schedule, but we would negotiate them annually. So the ones that are in the salary schedule right now are the licensed social worker, certified behavior analyst, and the speech language pathologist with the C's is what they call it. You know, the I don't know what it stands for. I know your people do. I always forget. I just call it the C's. So those would come out of the salary schedule, but would be like the others that we've been doing, the licensed school psychologist, what's the other one that we've been doing? The certified behavior analyst. Those have been the 2 that we've been negotiating annually. So we would negotiate all of those as one group annually. So that we would like to remove those from the salary schedule, negotiate them annually, and it would be a one-time $500 supplement to all of those employees that have those licenses. Okay. Going to the next page. Effective July 1st, 2023, ESE teachers carrying a caseload for the entirety of the school year will receive a one-time supplement of $1,000. Eligible employees must be current active employees at the time of payment. Number 6, this is the National Board Certified Teachers would receive up to a one-time $1,000 payment for the completion of their 10 hours of approved mentoring and conducting approved training through the PD department. Okay. And then the number 7, the board agrees to pay the full cost of employee-only health insurance premium for the designated health plan. And number 8, that's fingerprinting monitoring fee. Okay. All right. So let's dig in. We have shared our concerns with creating salary schedules that we can sustain and maintain with the funding that we have. The concern is that we don't know what the funding is going to look like from year to year. We do not know how House Bill 1 is going to impact us. There's a lot of unknowns still. So what we are proposing from our last proposal is we've heard you that the top of the scale has not really been addressed, you know, because of the teacher salary increase allocation, that categorical, which was really tied our hands that it had to go to new teachers. Remember that categorical this year, we're only receiving $15 million. And this, the top of the scale, the new teachers have moved from 40,000 up to 47,500 in the last few years. And this proposal would at least address the fact that we want to put more towards the top of the scale. So if you notice here, reflects what our current proposal was until you hit 20 years. So then it was every level before was going up $1,250. So this would go up, once we hit 20 years and you move to year 21, it would go up $1,500 each level. And remember, that's not what you're getting. Our current employees, that's not what they're getting because they're moving a level from the old salary schedule to the new. So we can talk about that in a second. But this would raise the top of our schedule to 72,000. Our current schedule at E23 is at 68,000. There's approximately 1,600 employees that have been receiving one-time payments, not recurring, for several years. And anybody that is moving to the top, which would be E25, would be moving to 72,000 recurring, which would be a $4,000 recurring increase moving forward. Okay. Now, I think we need to remember, because I think sometimes we look at this, we look at the grade increase, that far right column. That far right column is just showing what the increase is for each step, correct? So it's not what each employee would be receiving, because you have to look at the old salary schedule where you were, and if you move a level, where you would be now on the new salary schedule. So for example, I'll just pick an example here. Let's say we were looking an employee that currently is on E8, right? If you're on E8 on our current salary schedule, you are making $48,000. If you move to this new salary schedule and you move to E9, which is what you would be doing, you would be moving to $50,750. So that employee would be moving $2,750. So it does vary depending on where you are on the salary schedule, but for the most part, most employees would be receiving as much, if not more, than what they would have received if they had just received a step on our current salary schedule. Okay. And I'll give you, this didn't print very well, so I'm just going to give you one copy in case you need it just to play, like when you're looking at each increase. And I can type that up. I was just wanted to kind of wrap my head around what each employee would see. Okay. All right. So this is our proposal for schedules E and P. You turn to the next page. This is for schedule G and Q that go along with it. I didn't number the pages, probably should have. I didn't. All right. So this one, this would be keeping our same formula, which from the 10-month to the 12-month schedule is approximately a 14.7% increase. The reason it's not the same hourly rate is because of the vacation days. Employees earn up to 19.5 vacation days. They 12-month employees have 13 paid holidays instead of 6 paid holidays. And obviously there's increased costs with FRS for that. So that's keeping the same formula that we do from all of our 10-month to our 12-month schedules. Okay. All right. Turning the page. The next page, it should say Health Pro, 205 days. Currently, all of the employees on Health Pro are on a 205-day work schedule. By moving our counselors, speech language pathologists, and social workers, we do have speech language pathologists are currently on a 198-day schedule. And there are very few, but some 12-month counselors and social workers as a group. So we had to also create a 253-day schedule for that. And there's not a lot of them, but there's a handful. So if you look here, we looked at what you had proposed as far as adding a level 0, so that when we align going across, that it would be much more aligned. And doing that, we wouldn't place employees level for level, we would give them the level increase. So if you are on an instructional schedule, if I'm a guidance counselor on level 5, then I would be moving to Health Pro on level 6. Okay. And then looking at this, there are 3 pages that look all very similar because they are all the same schedule, 205 and 198 days, which would be the same hourly rate. And then the 253 days, those 12 employees This is the same formula that we do with all of our other schedules that go from 10 months to 12 months. So that's how we created this. Now, thinking what I've left out. Cost. That's always kind of something we want to talk about, right? Or don't. All right. By doing this, previously, right now I'm just talking recurring, okay? Recurring, our previous proposal was at 27.8 million for all of the instructional pieces, for the recurring instructional salary schedules. This proposal would be 32.9 million, so an additional 5 million recurring. So you know where it's broken up. The Health Pro schedule, our previous proposal without the level 0, with people just being placed level for level, was approximately 4.8 million. And this new Health Pro schedule would be approximately 6.3 million. And then the balance of that is obviously all of the EGPQ AB. Questions? I know it's a lot, like every,
Yeah,
you know, it's a lot of
that's good.
schedules.
All right.
Take your time.
So. No, that's okay. So on the non-recurring,
Correct.
that would be for those,
The non-recurring
Mhm.
costs that we would have would be the and I have them written down. Give me one moment.
it's okay.
Oh, here we go. All right, so your top step payment, assuming that would be approximately 130,000. The National Board Certified Teachers would be approximately 110,000. The student services supplements, all of those, $500 supplements for all the different supplements for licensure, would be approximately 175,000. And the ESE one-time payment for those who carry a caseload would be 1.75 million.
Right. I think that will probably caucus with the team and
Okay,
look it over and,
how long do you think you might need?
we'll set 30 and
Okay,
if anything changes, we'll,
okay.
because I know we gotta walk back.
And if you have any
Yeah,
questions,
we'll
just
be
let me know.
So we,
Oh, just-
we should caucus right here.
You can stay here.
You can stay here or you can go over
Okay.
to your
Real
room.
Or you can
quickly,
go.
Yes,
I did get a question and
okay.
just to be clear, so I know on your proposal, number 3, bullet point 2 and 3,
Mhm.
where we're talking about years of experience. So not all employees on step 23 would move to 25. It would be those that would be going from 23 to 24. And then if you're on 23 with 25 years or more,
Or
you would
more.
go directly to 25.
Correct.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yep.
I think
So
that's
that's
what
the
it's saying
bulk.
here.
Yeah, that is, but that's, and if we need to clarify things, obviously we can
Yeah.
rewrite them. But yes, so if you're on level 23, because you're truly at 23 years, and given the year of experience, you get a year, you move to 24.
Right.
But if you're 23, just because you've been at the top, and you have 25 or more, you would move to the new 25.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, you all still have that in this room, but
Apologize for one. Very blurry. All right. So we would keep 1 and 2 effective July 1, 2023. All instructional salary schedules agreed upon shall be updated and included. It's actually appendix C,
Oh,
but
I wonder where
it's
that- yeah.
okay. I think on my first I had A,
Okay,
but it's what we've proposed because I
Got
think we've got some other things in A and B. Anyway,
got it.
and if it ends up to be A, we'll figure it out. Effective July 1, 2023, all employees in the instructional bargaining unit shall be credited with 1 year of experience and shall advance on their respective salary schedules accordingly. I think there's extra copies there, maybe those extra copies.
Come on, there for you.
Effective July 1, we took your language on speech language pathologists, school counselors, and social workers currently on schedule ABEGPQ will be placed on the student services schedule, formerly known as Health Pro, at the appropriate level of experience and advanced degree not to exceed any other employee with the same years of experience on that scale. Employees who are at the top of schedule E, G, P, and Q with 24 years of experience will advance to step 24. Employees who are at the top level of schedule E, G, P, and Q with 25 years of experience or more will advance to step E25. Employees who are at the top of the schedule A and B will be paid a one-time longevity stipend of $2,500. We are countering with a little bit on the ESE payment. Effective July 1, 2023, ESE teachers carrying a caseload for the entirety of the school year will receive a one-time supplement of $2,000. Eligible employees must be current active employees at the time of payment. The national board remains the same. Effective July 1, 2023, eligible national board certified teachers shall receive up to a one-time $1,000 payment for the completion of 10 hours of approved mentoring and are conducting approved training through the professional development department, and the payment shall be made after submission and approval of all required documentation. Eligible employees must be current active employees at the time of payment. We also kept your language on, it's a little out of order from yours, but
Yeah, that's okay.
it's the language. Student services, additional supplements will be negotiated annually based on available funding, effective July 1, 2023. Eligible employees who are licensed school psychologists, licensed social workers, licensed SLP with CCCs, and certified behavior analysts will be paid a one-time $500 supplement. Eligible employees must have worked half plus a day of the 22-23 school year and be current active employees at the time of payment. And then we have the board agrees to pay the full cost of an employee only health insurance premium for designated health plan offered by the board for instructional employees. And then the board will pay the cost of fingerprint monitoring fees for instructional employees. All right. The first, hopefully it looks like this, a little bit yellow.
Yeah.
And there's two that are similar. There's a 10-month and a 12-month.
Make sure I'm on.
I tried to put a little 10-month at the top.
Yeah, no, that's.
Okay.
Hold on.
So
This is instructional, correct?
instructional EMP.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So our proposal here is to I think we're close here. To have starting pay move to 48,000. And the new proposed schedule is there in the kind of yellowish color. And what we've done on the side is this is what the new steps will be. So from each of those amounts, and then the actual raise that the employee would realize all the way to the right. And we would have step E25 end at 72,800. So we're trying to account for, some issues that we ran into with this team was there were still a couple steps where they were going to get less. And what the employee actually would realize by moving their step, they would get about $200. I think it was $200 less.
Yeah, I think there's two.
There were two steps like that. And
yeah.
then there was one where they would get $50 more on the new scale moving their step. So we know that this has to do with kind of remnants of, first of all, compression, the old banded salary schedule where it was, you had to wait 3 years before you got an increase, and then the correction of that. And we know that we want to get to a place where all those steps are a little more steady. From our initial proposal, we wanted to actually accelerate those steps. So as you got to the top of the scale, you got bigger steps.
Right.
So this is our attempt to kind of account for what people would be getting. But there's still some unevenness, but we're getting closer.
Now have you costed this?
Yes, our cost at the bottom is 34 million.
It'll be right there on the bottom.
Yep.
I see it. Okay.
The next page is the 12-month. So what we did here is we base this off of the current 10-month and 12-month scale. There's an hourly rate difference and it varies from top to bottom. In your proposal for some of those steps, they actually decrease. I made a mistake on one of my things, but anyway, capacity. There, when we looked at your proposal,
Mhm.
let me look here on my notes.
For the 12-month?
Yes, for the
Alright.
12-month.
Yeah.
There were two steps that actually the hourly rate decreased.
From the current?
Yes, from the current.
Okay.
It was step E12 and I think E18 and E19 and E21.
That would be probably consistent with where it went from the 2,200 to the 2,000, right?
It could be, I didn't really get
Think
that
it
deep
is.
into the weeds, but that was something
Yeah.
that got caught, that I was
Okay.
like, wait a second,
Yeah.
we're now taking back off that scale. So what we did is, and you know, our goal has been to try to lessen that separation of the hourly rate. You know, we've
Mhm.
tried making it $2, we've tried $3. So what we did is we just kept the same, what it is currently. So by moving, by increasing the proposed salary schedule for the 10-month, we just kept that same hourly rate difference on the 12-month. And there's,
Say it again.
okay, so the current separation, let me see if I can pull it up actually on my spreadsheet.
Just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yeah. All right. So the current 10 and 12 months schedules, we looked at what is the difference in the hourly rate. So
Got
for
it.
example, if you're on EOO on the 12 months, you'd be making $3.06 an hour less.
Correct.
And that then goes in, you know, $3.12 or $3.13 less on EO8 and $3.54 on E15.
Okay.
And step 23, you're actually making $4.39 an hour less.
Okay.
We kept that same, we just copied that and used that as the separation from our proposed 10-month to the 12 months. So
Okay.
if you were to look at E16 on our 10-month at 38.19,
Mhm.
the E16 34.54, that separation should be $3.65 or 66 cents.
Now, is it 365 the
Nope.
whole way, or it's what
We
it is
kept- We
currently?
kept the same, so yeah, we kept the $3.06, $3.29, you know, the same,
Okay,
just copied and pasted that.
okay.
We costed that out at less than $1 million, since
Mhm.
there's not a lot of people on that scale from what I can tell.
No,
Um,
it's mostly 12-month DRTs,
Yeah.
DJJ.
Yep.
And
Maybe just under 300 employees or so. Okay.
Copy it.
So just by increasing the 10 months, we estimated that at 754,000.
okay,
The Health Pro scale, student services, it's blurry and sorry, it's hard to read. I can give you mine.
no, that's okay.
Yeah.
I did turn 50 today.
I
Come on,
know.
you're playing games with me. All right.
That's on recording.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. All
Everyone
right.
knows.
I'm just
So
kidding. I
our
should-
Health Pro student services, we kept our same proposal as our last session. And we've costed this out at about 6.9 million. From the current student services. Which I think I had shared with you, like our last
Mhm.
proposal for student services.
Yeah.
And what that costed out, like if you did the apples to apples of where those folks would be if they moved to the current scale,
Mhm.
and then what it would cost.
Okay.
So we costed that at 6.9.
Okay.
So.
Now,
Mhm,
your health growth schedule that you proposed
mhm.
is not a set amount. It's not consistent as far as how much it goes up each step, correct?
Correct. We
Is
don't- we
there,
don't
what's
think-
the rationale, just so that we understand it, so we
So,
can,
yeah, so the way we did it, and this was a big help by some of our student services folks that did a kind of a subcommittee and looked at this,
Mhm.
and they looked at what the separation is on the current scales. So whatever the current scale, instructional scale, and looked at that separation. I believe that was the rationale. And I don't know if you want to add anything to what I'm saying, but if you look at the current instructional 10-month scale and you compare it to the current Health Pro scale, that hourly rate difference, they
Mhm.
kept that same amount.
Okay,
And we know that it's a little bit, it varies, and there was, you know, again, we're trying, how do you solve these things without taking back, you know, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We know that it would cost a lot of money to just, hey, if we pick a point and we keep that across the board, that would be exorbitant cost. But we weren't in a position or in agreement that we could take back on certain hourly rates or make it where if you're moving from instructional 10-month or 12-month to the student services, that you could potentially be making less at the end. And then some people were saying, oh, wait a second, I don't think it would be worth moving.
where would you be making less? Because I didn't see that one.
No, I don't, I think, were there some spaces on the student services where you were making less? I think she ran a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and even with the current, honestly, and looking at the proposed, supplements, if you were to figure that out, dollar per hour, even step 1 is still less on the health. Step 2 through 15 they're getting a nice good bump. From the instructional, it's pretty level, step 16 through 20. And then step 23 and 25 would actually be giving less on the health pro than they would on the instructional pay scale. Based on the additional supplements, if those would be a master supplement, the 3 differential, which I didn't see on the sheet, but I know we didn't discuss that.
Right.
And if we went with the 2,000 for the ESC center, those steps would actually be making less on health pro than they would on instructional.
Do you have, do you know, are you talking about the ones that are going from instructional to Health Pro or the people that are already on Health Pro? What is the range of increases that you saw?
The range of increases, it varied, pretty significant.
Correct.
I mean, from the initial, from the initial proposal, looking at the district proposal, and not this last one, because I haven't done the math on that quite yet.
Okay.
But the ranges in increase could be from a negative 11 cents per hour up to a positive of $3.6793 per hour. So there was a real significant difference between what those ranges were in the district proposal versus up for the instructional. So I haven't done the math yet for this current proposal. I can do that.
Can you share one more time what the high one was that you just shared? $3 and
$8.67 per hour. And that was in the middle of the range. That was at level 7. But that was even the way it was previous as well.
okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
When I looked at the ranges, it seemed like it seems low compared to what I costed out. Like there was some employees that would be upward of a $10,000. So that's where I'm surprised at that, some of those numbers. And I didn't do it by hourly rate. I looked at annual salary. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what makes this tricky because, you know, our 12-month employees look at that hourly rate to look at equity and, you know, hey, we're doing the same job. Yeah, okay, there's vacation involved, but if I'm actually going to be giving back even on that hourly rate, and then yeah, so it's a lot of eyes looking at this, and that is how we publish these scales, is with those hourly rates there. So this is, and we know that this shows up on employees' pay stubs, so these are all things. So you know, that scale is, again, it's what we had proposed before with the costs, and where we're looking to save and adjust was on the instructional 10-month.
Okay.
So
Now, obviously, you didn't create, because you hadn't previously, the 253 schedule for student services. Like I had shared previously, there's only 12 employees on that.
Okay.
So, but still, we need a schedule for them.
Sure.
For the 253.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, we didn't, I'd have to know where those folks are to even try to cost that out. I think the issue there again was significant differences in that hourly rate. So I think what we would do is probably, in sticking with the separation between the 10 and the 12 month on the instructional, we would just apply that same separation.
Okay,
to-
and that's what I was gonna
correct, yeah.
propose as well.
We just
Yeah.
didn't come up with it, but,
That's okay. That's
it
okay.
Logical.
seems kind of,
Okay,
and then, so taking that into account, that could adjust that could impact that 6.9,
mhm,
but with 12 employees, I
Right,
can't
no,
imagine it
it's-
being, multi-millions.
no, it won't, no, it won't be.
So, I think,
Can I verify just when you're taking the employees that are on the instructional salary schedule, moving them to the health pro?
Mhm.
You're still looking to move them, like if they're on instructional E10, they would be moving to E11.
correct.
Okay.
And I believe I had shared that kind of workbook.
Mhm,
It's what I shared with you previously. It's
Yeah.
the same.
okay.
So we know that, from last time to this time on the district proposal, going from 27.8 to 32.9. We know from our original,
Mhm,
that was 100 million, including the DSPs. I believe the instructional portion of that was in the 89 million. And putting us down to 41.8 million, that only puts us estimated about $9 million apart right now. So, based on our estimate. And we believe that that's significant movement, but it's in a range that's doable for the board.
Okay.
I think we're fine.
All right. All right, well, time to coffee.
Yes, and we will be very flexible and
Thank you.
accommodating to
I
you all
appreciate
were
it.
you were that way. Oh, I did want to make one note on
Yes,
our
please.
number 6. This was I didn't see it on yours, and so it wasn't on ours, but I think it was an oversight. When we talk about the student services for that additional supplement, we list out the licensed school psychologists, licensed school social workers, licensed SLP with the CCCs and certified behavior analysts. I believe that we've left out the licensed mental health counselors. I think they would be part of that group. Is that correct?
I think that's the certified behavior analyst.
Okay.
No,
No?
not the same?
No.
So licensed mental health counselor?
Yeah.
Anita, CBA is different from licensed mental health counselor, correct?
CBA, yeah, it's a, certified behavior analyst.
And
Right.
They're not the same, it's not the
It's
same.
not- I mean, some of those people might hold us or have that certificate, but
But they're two separate things.
yeah,
Okay.
the mental health clinician is, a trained social worker, or.
Yeah, so they're licensed
That's like a title.
mental health counselors. They hold a licensure.
They, I think to be a mental health clinician, you have to hold licensure in like mental health counseling or.
So,
But it's different from CBA.
Okay,
so that was why we just wanted to make sure they were.
okay.
it was an oversight.
Yeah, no, it was,
Yeah, it was an oversight. I
Yeah.
think,
I get confused on some of those, which one's which, because I see them listed differently.
Yeah.
Depending on who's listing it.
I don't
So,
think it was an intent on anyone's part
No,
to leave
no, it
the
wasn't.
licensed folks out. It was just
It's
who
like the
wanted.
VCPA.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
So I'm gonna add it into ours so that on the Word document. If
okay.
you want, I can email it to you right now. Would that be
Yeah, that'd be
helpful?
great.
If I email it to you?
Yeah, that would be super
Look at
helpful.
your bullet point at the top for student services, just add an I in here. The first bullet point on the screen.
Students, yep, got it. All right.
Line in the Word document.
All
Yep.
right. We'll be back.
Okay.
Great. I can't even really
Next
give an
DJ.
estimate of time. I don't know.
It's fine.
Good to me. All right, so obviously we've been doing, crunching some numbers and seeing what we can do. So we are, obviously we've shared that we have some concerns about creating salary schedules that we can't sustain over time. And we know that moving forward, and we've talked about this, that we want to partner to be able to lobby for more funding and the things that we need. So, what we brought here is what we think we can sustain at the moment, with the recurring versus the non-recurring money. So really looking at it, what we're looking at is, let's, you want that? No, this is good. No, I see it. All right, so let's just go to the salary schedule. Let's go to the third page and I can kind of walk you through what we did here. All right, so based on a couple of your proposals, we've seen that there's some desire to move the bottom of the scale up from 47.5. So what we are proposing is that we move EOO up to $48,000. And then again, remember, step increase just means from the previous step. That's not actually what employees would see because we have to compare it to where they currently are. So then we decompressed. Obviously, it minimizes the decompression. I don't know if that really makes sense, but you see what I'm saying, right? So it would go up in increments to where we would get to where we were before, the $250. Then in addition, we would have the $1,250. And then once we hit employees that are moving from 20 years to 20 E21, it would still maintain the 1,500. In order to account, we saw that you would come to 72,800. So what we are proposing is that those employees that move from E23 to E24, they would move to 70,500, but would receive a one-time longevity bonus of $500, which will be at, then that year, they would be at 71,000. And then for those employees moving from E23 to E25, they would be moving from 68,000 to 72,000, which is a $4,000 recurring increase, but then also receive a one-time $1,000 non-recurring bonus. So they will realize $5,000 increase for the 23-24 school year. So that's what we did there.
Would it be a bonus or would it be like a longevity supplement that would be FRS, or would it be like a bonus?
It would
tax that way?
be, I'd have to go with that. I believe it would be a bonus
Okay.
because I think once you have movement as well, you only get one, right? That's correct. So the movement, the 72,000 would be the FRS, and then the bonus would be the 1,000. Now, employees that are at the top of a scale, when they're getting a one-time, that's the only increase they're getting. So that counts as FRS. Okay, we've talked about this in past years. Is that it right? Okay. All right, so that was one piece of it. We didn't type this up, but we did look at your E and P schedule that moved to G and Q. So your 12-month schedule. We would want to create from this, we'd want to create our G and Q schedule with the same increments that you did. Okay, does that make sense? What I just said? All right, so we would create, so we have this, we'd create the 12-month schedule with the same dollar amount
Okay.
or hourly rate amount that we currently have. That is what you had proposed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's one piece. In addition, going back to what we have here, we are proposing, if you look at number 3, we had already said that all speech language pathologists, counselors, and social workers would be moved out in the student service schedule. Bullet number 2, we just talked about. So employees that are on E23 that would move to E24 would get the increase, but then also would receive a one-time $500 longevity stipend. The third bullet, employees that are moving to E25 would realize that $4,000 increase, but would also get a one-time $1,000 longevity stipend. And then the Health Pro, there's a lot of, we're proposing that we keep the schedule that we had originally proposed. So it would look exactly like we had proposed earlier with a 198-day schedule, a 205-day schedule, and a 253-day schedule. However, we would want for employees on the new Health Pro schedule who are on level 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 to receive a one-time $1,000 longevity stipend. They had all been at the top. Now they're not at the top because we've added levels, but then they would be receiving an additional stipend on top of it. In addition, going down to number 4, we did add in the licensed mental health clinician that we had talked about for those $500 bonuses. And then number 5, we do agree to the $2,000 for ESE teachers that carry a caseload. Okay. What this would create is approximately $34 million recurring and almost, but $6.8 million non-recurring. If we remember, our original proposal had the $28 million recurring. So this proposal would be $6 million more recurring. In addition, it would be $6.8 million non-recurring.
Okay, couple of questions. So, one thing that I needed to ask
Yeah.
on the number 5 for the ESE caseload,
Yes.
we know that, there were folks that were other than just teachers, that were eligible for it in the past, and that ESE payment is not contingent upon which salary schedule you're on, right? So like if those folks that are currently on the instructional, that are maybe student services that are moving to the student services that have been eligible for that in the past due to the caseload, would they still remain eligible for it?
What would be an example? Because I don't know of
I think there
anyone
was some
except
of our SLPs
have a caseload, an ESE
that
caseload.
got it in the past.
I'm not aware of that. I don't believe so. They were
Okay.
Do you write their?
Yeah, but-
I have a question.
but those are your,
Do you write their IEPs?
Yes. One tonight,
That's what it says in the SAT.
Yeah.
That's what-
I believe the one that we did last year that was part of the American Rescue Plan,
Mhm.
was only ESE teachers. It was, our VE teachers, access teachers, behavior support teachers.
Okay.
So that is what we're proposing, and that's how we costed it out.
And so they weren't getting it
we
this,
did get it. We have that every year.
okay,
I'd have to research that.
Okay.
And every year, we only did it last year. It
Yeah,
was the-
we've had ES, but we've had supplements in the past for ESC.
okay. Right. One other question that's, oh, okay, so it says, I just want to be really clear because,
Sure.
when we watched through the 10-month and we talked about the 500 and 1,000 longevity, it was called a bonus. On the language here, it's called a stipend. So difference, is it the same? Is that different? I mean, I think what it comes down to is we just want to be clear is it taxed as a bonus or is it towards FRS as a stipend?
If you're receiving a salary increase on your annual salary, then it would count as a bonus. You can't receive two different, that was the FRS is the one who shared that with us last year when we had those concerns.
Okay.
And I can change that.
I just wanna be
from
clear, I
stipend to
just-
bonus, right?
Never heard that rule.
Yours said bonus.
For the,
No, yours said what? Longevity.
yeah, I think that was where on the added,
Yeah.
for the Health Pro and the one-time stipend.
Correct.
So when we say stipend, we need bonus.
Mhm.
Okay. Doesn't count towards FRS and it's taxed at a higher rate.
The withholding.
Yeah, well, the
is different.
withholding's different, so the employee doesn't see less. Okay. I don't know that I have any more questions.
Really?
All right.
All right, full caucus, give it 20. Oh, wait, no, one more question. So 34 recurring, do you, before you gave us a breakdown on like the instructional and then the health
Mhm.
pro, do you have that by any
I
chance?
do. Let me find it.
I'm gonna find my notes too. Here.
Well, in the health pro, we haven't changed.
Okay, so
So,
the health
right,
pro is
so
6.3.
that's correct.
Mhm.
And the instructional schedules,
Would be the difference between 34 minus 6.3.
yes.
Okay. Got it. All right,
All
that
right.
should
You can do
be
that.
helpful. No, that's just
Yeah,
helpful.
no, that
Puts
is,
things in
yeah.
perspective.
And then did you want the breakdown for the non-recurring? The
Um,
additional, the ESC bonus would be approximately 3.5 million.
mhm.
The level 24 and level 25, one-time payment for level 24 of $500 and level 25 of 1,000 would be approximately 1.9 million.
Okay.
We already did the longevity for A and B. We already did the student services supplement. We already did national board.
Mhm.
And then the student services longevity levels 21 through 25 would be approximately 230,000
Okay,
for a total of 6.8 million.
perfect. All right.
And then one thing that, let's see, that I just wanted to share, if I can find it with all the different things, right? Find it one quick moment. Second. Let me think about it. Yeah, no, pull it up there. Now, we did go through, the student services to see the difference in the different amounts that employees would be getting. So obviously, it's not consistent, right? I mean, you know that from your schedule and what you've seen. But I think what's interesting, and it's because it's been long needed, so, that needs to be said as well. But with the Health Pro, our Health Pro employees, even including the ones that we're bringing on, are approximately 4.5% of our employees, right, that are in the bargaining unit. But the increase that we're giving to Health Pro is approximately 12% of what we're offering. So we know that's because it's a needed. But I think that's, it is a significant amount, and it's not perfect yet because we have to, everybody's coming from a different spot. Some are already on the Health Pro, some are coming from the instructional schedule, some are coming from a 198, some are coming from 205.
Yeah.
So it's not exact for everybody, but it is a significant increase for that Health Pro schedule that hopefully will help us recruit and retain employees.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's something we've talked a lot about, and with these teams, is that, there's so many things that we want to fix and are trying to fix, and so we've got to kind of pick and choose where and or how far we can go. If we could
Correct.
do it all in one fell swoop, that'd be great. But
Correct.
it's years of underfunding from the state,
Agreed.
bad legislation in the last 3 years with teacher salary increase allocation legislation,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
all that stuff. So,
Agreed. Agreed.
all right.
All right.
I think, give us like 15 minutes or so. and
Okay.
We'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
This is used.
There you go. That was good.
Thank you, sir. Thank
That
you.
was good. All right. So our counter is, we didn't change anything on this because we think that
Right.
this will be what it's gonna be. Our counter is, this is the blue one you got, is the 10-month, right? And we've made an adjustment to level 0 at 47.5, which then has created a few adjustments on some of the steps. So we've dropped this cost of our 10-month proposal, 10-month salary schedule before, from 34 to 31.7. We would also keep our 10-month or our 12-month, which we previously proposed, and our student services, which we previously proposed. So we estimate this cost at 39.7 in recurring. our last one, I think the last one we costed out, I think at 41 point, I forget what I told you. 41, I have too many pages. It was actually 42 when we looked at the 12-month, when you called me and asked me for how many
Mhm,
employees were
yeah.
at that one.
Yeah.
So there was a slight adjustment there.
So walk me through this one real quick.
Okay.
So I'm making
Mhm,
sure that I'm
mhm.
processing. So you're dropping EOO and EO1 back to the 47.5 and 47,750.
Mhm.
Okay. Then 48,
Mhm.
255. So that's what, okay. Then,
Looks like 8 10.
then starting on EO9,
Mhm.
it goes up in just a little bit different increments,
Mhm.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, making some of those slight adjustments because on the 10-month, because there's large amounts of employees there, when you
Mhm.
make subtle adjustments and some of those, it can equate to,
Mhm.
$500,000 here,
Right.
$500,000 there, where
Yep.
when you make slight adjustments on the 12-month of the student services, where there's a
Right.
few people.
Mhm.
So this is where we felt we could adjust
Mhm.
back back to the 47,500 and make a few adjustments on some of the annual rates, which
Okay.
equated to dropping the total cost from 31.7 to 30, or from 34 to 31.7 on just that 10-month. So
Mhm.
again, from a $42 million recurring proposal to a 39.7.
Mhm. And then the 12-month that would go with this is,
The same that we proposed before.
but the one before was the 48,000 at the top, right?
Mhm. So if
At
we
the
kept
bottom.
we costed it out about, I had originally costed out about 754,000, but when I readjusted and put some of those people in the right spot, it was actually 990. So even on this proposal,
Mhm.
we would keep it.
So, but would we create a 12-month that, like, let's say from 47,500, then we do the 12-month that goes with that?
That's not
Do
our
you see?
counter,
Okay,
but
that's what I was making sure that I was processing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Again, because what we're trying to do is any way we can lessen that hourly rate difference between the 10 and the 12-month. So we believe by keeping the 12-month there, but we can look at that. I mean, it could maybe
Sure.
adjust
Yeah, I mean,
a few, but,
okay.
and then keeping the student services where we were prior
Mhm.
at the 6.97. Which I gave you copies of before. The
Yeah,
green
no, we
one,
have
the
that.
green blurry.
Yep, no, we got that. And that was 6.97 as part of the 39.7 or in addition?
That's part of the
That's what I thought.
39.7.
Just want to make sure that we were
Yeah.
all hearing it the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we also, right, like we know that we have all these shared goals for decompression, honoring the veterans, raising base salaries as much as we can. But like we said, we've got a lot to fix and we can't do it all at once. And Rob has said this a lot. Not only is it recruit and retain, but it's retain and retain. If we can't retain, then recruiting is just, it's an endless battle. We really believe that our last proposal was a win for the instructional employees and for the school board. The members of this team have been solidified and firm on their proposal, so we believe that this adjustment is, it's a large adjustment, even from the 89 that we started at, which we confidently could be sustained. There's an opportunity for the interim superintendent and for the school board to move in the right direction after the last few years of a practice of budgeting for salaries and not spending that money. And that is in the budget. That should be recurring money. We're confident in the amount of money that's in the budget that can pay for this proposal as it is right now. And I think that, again, the decision to accept this proposal by the board will show the employees and the public that we're all ready to move in that right direction. So we have a document that we think will kind of summarize where we
Thank you.
know that the money is now. I have an extra if you need it. You got enough?
No, if you do have an extra, that'd be great, but if not.
Okay, so we have in our last presentation looked specifically at the instructional salaries and benefits. So we decided to take a step back and let's look at the entire instructional function 5,000. In the budget for this year, 23-24, there's 1.366 billion allocated. Last year in the 22-23 school year, what was reported to the state in the overall instructional function was 1.2 billion spent. So this means that the increased available money in the instructional expenses overall is $156.5 million. And the instructional salaries, which is the 5,100 we looked at in our presentation, comprise 52% of the entire 5,000 function in 22-23. So with that new money coming, that increased available money that's being budgeted of the 156.5, that's a 52%, and you take 52% of that, that means 81.4 million is available, based on that math, is available money. So the HCTA instructional salary proposal will only increase the salary cost by 39.7. That money needed to settle is already in the budget to pay for our proposal. So let's look then, we can look then at appropriations versus expenditures in the general fund overall. If there's any apprehension that there's not enough money budgeted in 5,100 alone, this is just instructional salaries, the district can rest assured that there is enough in the overall budget to cover HCTA's proposal. This year's budget is $238 million more than what was actually spent last year, and that's the entire, just the general fund. The largest increase in expenditures over the last 5 years was 81 million, and that was in 2019-20. In 2020-2021, expenditures actually went down. So we broke this down and we're looking just at the AFR, and this is 2017-2018, total expenditures 1.696 billion. 2018-19, 1.76 billion. And then you can see the actual change in expenditures as you go through there. In addition, the district has over budgeted each of the last 3 years. So when we look at total appropriations in 2020-2021, the budget showed, okay, we're going to spend $1.839 billion, but what was actually spent was 1.774. So there was $65.5 million that was not spent, which is money that's allocated in the budget. And according to the CFO in our last discussion, when we asked about money being budgeted, it's available to be spent. We should be telling the state and the public that when we pass this budget, that money that's put there is available as recurring money. So when we look at 21-22, budgeted 1.88 billion, but spent 1.78 billion. That means 103.186 million was unspent. And then again for 22-23, 1.9 billion budgeted, 1.8 billion spent, $100 million left unspent. And when we look at the 23-24 school year, this school year, what is being budgeted is over $2 billion. When last year, what was spent was 1.8 billion. That means there is $238 million more available in the overall budget. But what we're seeking in this final proposal is 39.7 million. And then we broke it down on the top where we think it's available already in the instructional salaries. You know, we talked a lot about the fund balance, and we've put this in our presentation before. The total stated assigned and unassigned 20% fund balance is 6 times higher than the statutory requirement. The district has tripled the fund balance in just 1 year, from 21-22 to 22-23. And if you set aside the 3% policy base or the legal requirement of 3% of the revenues, which is 60 million, there's still 215 million unassigned available. You know, it's non-recurring, available to be used at the board's discretion if needed. And then we've included our chart here to show the drastic increase in what's in the fund balance, which when we look at this across the state, what this means is that there's recurring money in the budget that's available to be spent when it's not, and it's put into the fund balance. So in summary, there's enough money budgeted just in the 5,000 function alone to accommodate our proposal. If not, history shows us that there will be an ample funds throughout the whole budget available at the end of the year to accommodate the proposal. If not, the assigned and the unassigned fund balance is healthy enough to cover any deficit due to salary for years to come. So this is our position. I've got plenty of copies of this if you need it, but this is where we believe. Yeah, you can, I just wrote in our little number there.
Thank you.
If you don't want to vote. Mr. Gibson, you want to.
Mr. Gibson, sir. All right.
So, you know, even our $89 million original proposal was, although it was what we said ambitious, was not unrealistic, and what we see available that's in the budget right now. Again, I've used this visual before. This is straight from the board docs, the annual financial report and the district summary budget. And what is, again, what we asked the CFO, if that money is there and it's put in the budget, is it available to be spent? And the answer was yes. And so that is, it's in salary and benefits alone, it's 121.6 million available in the budget over last year. And our proposal is 39.7, and total salaries and benefits, it can be paid for. So that's where we're at.
All right. Any questions? No. All right. Give us a short time to talk.
All right.
Okay, so, you know, I know you've presented the budget talking points and those things, as well as we had the CFO come and explain, the budget as well. And, you know, obviously there's some concerns, the unknowns with House Bill, the McKay Scholarship, the ESSER money that has been reclassified, all those things have had a huge impact over the last few years. So, we're in a position that we have brought forth, you know, $12 million tonight, 6 million of which was recurring, and almost, and 6.8 million non-recurring. And we're going to need to go back and recost out some things and try to see what other proposals we can bring forward. Because we're not there right now. We're close, but we're not quite there. And, obviously it's disappointing. You know, we've been here, it's been a long night. I mean,
Sure.
I think that we know we're making progress. This is probably, at least in my time, and even as my time prior to being in HR, we've brought forth a large proposal, that we think really addresses what our priorities have been, which is the top of the scale, as well as decompressing the salary schedule, and then using the fund balance, like you mentioned, Britt, that is non-recurring money. And we're willing to keep going there with non-recurring money, but it doesn't seem like that's something that we share a thought on right now. So, you know, I think that's where we're close, but we're still far apart in that piece of it.
I mean, I think the non-recurring money, I think we're there on a number of the things that the ESE, the student services, our national board, you know, all these things that the 6.8 non-recurring. The recurring amount of 39.7 it's not unreasonable. I mean, we know that the board started at 27.4 and is now at 34. We started at 89 and now we're at 39. We're only $5.7 million apart in recurring money. And again, it is absolutely unclear how a budget that tells us there's 121 million in the budget, unless we are telling the public and employees that money in the budget, that's non-recurring. It does not make sense. The math does not add up that 39.7 can't be afforded. I mean, and
And that 39.7 has to be able to be sustained
yes,
as well as increases in future years. That is obviously that compounds that. It
yep,
doesn't stay at 39.7. It has to then you get a level increase and that adds on another, amount. So we have to be able to sustain it. And that's the concern that we have. We feel that, that non-recurring money is where we have some opportunity to offer, some creative ways to compensate our employees, but at the same time, not put us in an operational deficit in the future. I did it. Because it's the concern.
yeah. I mean, it's just, we look at the historical spending and we look at the historical budgeting, it's not happening. I mean, it's the district continually saying, we're not sure, we're not sure, we're not sure. But yet the last 3 years, I mean, huge, I mean, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars budgeted and not spent based on, we know.
You said the last 3 years,
Yep.
and there's been something very unique in the last 3 years.
Mhm.
The last 3 years, we have had federal funding that has been able to offset expenses and move things off of general onto other resources. So we're gonna go back and cost these things out.
Mhm.
We will come back with new ideas. But we are not comfortable moving past where we did tonight in the recurring bucket.
And okay, over budgeting in the last 3 years, but we showed you a presentation where beyond the past 3 years, revenues have consistently increased in this district. And the issue right now is, and I know that we have ESSER money that is not, it's another part of the budget. Consistently, we are down employees, and that is lapsed salary. That's money that is every day, that every payroll that we don't pay those employees, that's money that is recurring that is not spent. So again, 121.6 million. Why? I mean, if it's non-recurring, I guess,
Obviously, the thought is that we want to be able to fill those vacancies,
Mhm.
and then that would be recurring moving
Yep.
forward.
All right.
And
And I mean, we got the vacancy and the breakdown information on the
Mhm.
positions,
yeah,
and we had that prepared, but I think now we're gonna be nickel and diming. I mean, if we really want to dive into the way that vacancies and current employees are being budgeted, there's money there too. I mean, it's absolutely there. Because we're budgeting, I mean, when the CFO says we're budgeting on 75,500 for a vacancy, and the numbers that were shared with us, there's over budgeting there too.
here's the thing, and I think we all know, we want to get this done as much as you do,
Mhm.
okay? But we also have to be responsible with what the future can hold. And then there's so many unknowns there. And we know that the known is that we have a large fund balance, right? We know that, but that is non-recurring money. And we don't know, that won't continue if we continue to dip into that over time. So I hear you,
Mhm.
but this is what we are able to do tonight. Unless there's some appetite in the room to look at some more of the non-recurring money.
I mean,
The answer is no, we don't have that appetite. I mean, to be frank, we are very close and we are encouraged that we are this close. And it is thoroughly disappointing that we're not gonna be able to reach an agreement financially tonight.
Agreed.
The recurring, increases have been felt by every single one of us in this room, by every single bill, every single thing that we have to pay. And that we don't feel has been recognized by the board and by this district during the hard times that we've been all undergoing. And so we thought we were looking for some course correction on that. And as Britt has mentioned many times tonight, we can't solve it all through this negotiation. And we're getting pretty, and we're regularly.
I think where we furthest apart is this health pro schedule. I mean, I feel like we are super close on the instructional schedule. But this health pro schedule has not landed in a good spot yet, in my opinion. And I think we all see that you have some employees getting a really large increase. There's no consistency to it. So we're having a hard time with that health pro schedule. And the fact that it is 6.9 million for a small group of employees, and some of them aren't getting enough of an increase, like we've heard,
Mhm.
but then there's some that are getting a very large increase moving from the instructional to the health pro. So I think that's where our hangup is. And I think that's a large bucket of money that if we want to spread it among all the employees, maybe we would be able to get a little closer.
But I don't understand, because when you made your proposal earlier today, when it was costed out at 32.9, you told us that the health pro cost 6.3. And if we're at 6.9, I mean, even if we back down to that's $600,000. I mean, that's not gonna put it, I mean, even if we said, all right, we'll take yours at 6.3. I mean, that to me is, that's why I think we're sticking with our student services, because that's not where the bulk of this cost is. We know that the bulk of the cost is in the 10-month instructional, because that's where the huge majority of our employees are.
Right.
And it's difficult because, yeah, we need to make a major course correction on the student services. And what's been put forth is what those employees, they worked that out. That was not, I mean, we started it, and that's the fair amount. Is it enough? No. I mean, because it's been a decade since it's really been getting the same increases here. The 12-month scale, even if we kept it at our last proposal, we're talking another maybe $100,000, $200,000 there. I mean, where we have to make the adjustment is on this 10-month scale.
And on this 10-month scale, what's interesting is the bottoms are the same. The top's close. So why are we trying to create a schedule that creates almost bands again, where it's not, there's not a consistent increase each year?
We're trying to get there, but the problem with what you proposed, even on the one that you brought back just now, we still have steps where people are gonna make more on the current scale than the one you proposed. And that's problematic.
There were 2 steps, correct?
And they were
$200, which we could have, non-recurring money could help fix that.
But then you're saying that's non-recurring money, and then it's a bonus. And you've already told us that you can't pay it towards their FRS. And that's what has to be fixed, is the base salaries, that money that those employees are bringing home and can count on. And I mean, it's interesting because I've been in this district when we've said, oh, we can't do a step, but I would be glad to have language that says we get automatic steps. That's something that we'll take that all day long. But we are trying to get to a point where the steps are closer. But by doing that, by doing what has been proposed, where they're all, $12.50 or whatever they are, because of the damage that was done before and trying to fix those bands, there's still remnants of it, but we're getting closer. And it really does come down to the bottom line of what are those employees actually going to realize in a raise, which I know you've walked through.
Sure.
And what we've put forth on our last one is meaningful. It's meaningful for employees, and with $5 million apart, the board can do that. They absolutely can. I am not someone that would come here and say, we want to put a proposal forward that's going to bankrupt the district for years to come. No, I grew up here. I was a teacher in this district. My family's worked here. That is not something that I would lead this team or this team wants to have happen. We've talked a lot about a millage happening, and we were close on it. That absolutely has to happen. The surrounding districts that have, that are more competitive than us, where people are leaving, they have that. And by doing this now, just that 5 million, and I know that has to maybe go back and be discussed. That is a clear message. That is a major course correction from the past, where people are unsure about, is the district managing money? Are they hiding money, or any of that? All those things, all the uncertainties that led people to vote no, this will be that correction. And we've talked a lot in this group too. Is this proposal enough? It's not. I mean, it should be more for our student services, for a 10-month, for a 12-month. This is a reasonable proposal. I know, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that the board has come with more money than they ever have, but we've also adjusted from a realistic and doable proposal to something that is far less than what we initially proposed. And what we're proposing is that the board come with that additional 5. And I believe it's the right thing to do. It's the best thing to do. I'll go back to what I said on my original presentation. If we're gonna continue to use Hillsborough Strong and talk about this as a family, and I believe this in my whole heart, if you have family in your home that can't eat and they can't pay their bills and they can't get new clothes, or their shoes are broken, but we're sitting here holding, well, in 5 or 6 years that someone might come and we have to spend that. That's wrong. That is wrong. And it needs to be done now. And and then we go for that millage and we show our employees that the board's willing to do that. And we
The
will get
good
it
thing is
passed.
we're not that far apart.
Right.
And we have another session scheduled for Monday.
Yes.
So,
All
so
right.
we'll do some work and we'll come back.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye.